thank you everyone for tuning on to this interview on Project 402. Do you want people to call you Jake or Jacob?
More professional setting, and probably like Jacob.
Okay.
I don't honestly.
So I know him as Jake, but this is Jacob Schroeder. He is the owner and co-founder of Ponca Hills Pumpkin, as the hat says. I love all your merch. I actually helped him do some pictures, so if you go on Instagram, you might see me. I'm a professional model on the side.
Oh yeah, Look at that beautiful face.
But let's talk pumpkins, because your business, I'm going to wait a little bit to release this interview, so it's a little more towards your sales cycle and sales season, I guess. But tell people what the heck you do, because if I see Ponca Hills Pumpkin on someone, I would have an idea of what you do, obviously, but I wouldn't know your pumpkin patch. Like, what exactly do you do?
Yeah, so we're actually an exclusive, I guess, pumpkin patch. We don't actually have anyone come yet. That's kind of a future goal. But for the time being, we grow pumpkins, some specialty pumpkins, some kind of novelties, and we just sell them and deliver them directly to people. So we're kind of an Uber model for pumpkin delivery.
Are you the only one like that in the Omaha area?
As far as I know, yes. I do know there's some pumpkin patches out in Lincoln that do deliver, but as far as around Omaha, I think we're the only ones from what I've seen.
So delivering pumpkins, you're the Uber for pumpkin business. I like that analogy because I think everyone can relate to that and will understand it. Where did you come up with the idea? If you're the first really to Omaha to do this, what? Because you have no farming or agriculture. Because I know you. I have to remember that these people don't know you. I know that you have no farming or agricultural skills. I know you're very much into computers and do IT work for your day job. So where's that transition to I'm gonna grow and sell and deliver pumpkins?
So my business partner is more of the agricultural one, and I met who doesn't love pumpkins, but
Sure.
he really loves pumpkins, and he just decided to grow some kind of on his plot of land. And from there we had a few extra, so he just kind of posted this online ad of, hey, pumpkins will come deliver to you, just to get rid of them.
Sure.
And we got a really good response out of it. And so we took it from there and had this kind of internal dialogue and discussion just about how we can scale it up and actually turn it into a full-scale business.
Right. Was that 2017 then, or 2018? When the timeline?
So that was 2018,
Okay.
but we didn't actually scale and create our business until 2019, which was last year.
I see. So 2018 was the just kind of fleeting, let's just get rid of them, we'll come deliver them to people, and then in between 2018 and 2019, shoot, okay, we could make some real money with this.
Exactly. There was such a high demand, it was crazy.
So the land would obviously be the hardest hurdle to overcome when you're starting a business like this, but Ryan, your co-owner, or co-founder, he has a farm then? Is it his farm, or is he always just sublease land? I'm totally unfamiliar with how you rent land and stuff like that.
Yeah, so he actually has an associate, and we actually just rent the farmland from them per season. So we'll, throughout the summer, which is the growing season for pumpkins, we just rent out land from them, and then we'll come and pick them, and then kind of bring them back to our internal shop here in Omaha.
That's wild. It's such a weird idea, but it was pretty successful last year, wasn't it?
I would say so. I know most businesses their first year don't run a profit, but we actually ran a profit, so
that's insane.
That was very exciting.
So that was the first year. You're doing it again this year, obviously, which is why you're doing this interview. What's obviously since then coronavirus has happened and the whole world has shut down, and there's talk about mask mandates and not. What has been what's going to be the biggest change this year and this season, with not only that but also just learning from their first real year and doing business? Did you keep track of different parts of town that you sold the most to, or different types of organizations that you sold the most to and were delivering to? What did you learn from the first year that you'll be changing or making better for your second year?
Well, in regards to COVID, we'll definitely be doing masks just to make people feel comfortable. In terms of the delivery, it's pretty much contactless anyway. Often a lot of our customers, they might be at work during the day or something, and we just kind of drop them off on their porch, or we would drop them off wherever they kind of supply on the order. But as far as the delivery model, that's pretty much the same. In regards to the customer base, honestly, it's pretty much everyone. Everyone loves pumpkins. You can go more in depth, and particularly like families and people with kids. I feel like definitely they're more prone to buy pumpkins and decorate their yard than, let's say, the single guy or girl, you know.
Right.
People out more west obviously buy a lot of pumpkins. I'm not sure if they...
where the more money is.
I'm not sure if they want to impress their neighbors or just kind of show off, but there's some cool stuff out there in terms of decorations and stuff. So,
what's the biggest thing that you learned from the first year that kind of didn't work that you're gonna change next year or this year? Excuse me.
Oh man.
Like whether it's with growing them or just different sizes are riper sooner. I don't even know if pumpkins get riper.
I would probably just say more so of the manual labor stuff. So, some of the pumpkins are fairly heavy in terms of like 30, 40, 50 pounds, and just picking them up all the time and moving them around. We're just thinking of ways to move them less. So this year we'll probably maybe carry around the trailer more often and then just kind of pull that around and have people pick pumpkins, or we might load up our trucks still and just have people pick from there.
Sure.
But we definitely want to aim to shoot to touch pumpkins less more, because it's just more time and energy, and sometimes that can be very exhausting after a long day.
I would imagine.
Just moving stuff around.
Right. Because this is Ryan's second job as well, right? It's just a side hustle for the both of you. Huh. That's insane. And so the startup cost, to me, I'm just thinking of everything you would need to do something like this. And really just the land was the difficult part, but you lucked into that really, perfectly. Then really just you need a truck or a trailer too, like you said. But I feel like the delivery part would be just a logistical nightmare. If you have deliveries, are you delivering these every day after work when you come home, or is it you only deliver 2 days a week, and then or maybe 1 day a week is east of 72nd, then you save the other day for West Omaha, or how do you do that? Seems like a lot of gas could be wasted.
Yeah, definitely. Depending on how you do it. Typically every day we would just go do deliveries. We usually had enough to knock a few out, and we do charge for delivery fee, and it's pretty much just to cover what it is for gas on average to the average location that we deliver to. In terms of doing it in the most efficient way possible, being in tech, I did design a map system with our orders, and then I actually used some different math equations to calculate the fastest route so I can use the least amount of gas. We do kind of split it up into little sections of Omaha too, so we can kind of just hit a few in the route.
Sure. So
we're not going here, from North Omaha down to Bellevue, down to Elkhorn or something like that.
Right. Don't they have, I used to do a ton of traveling too, don't they have Google Maps that does that for you? Or like MapQuest? Don't they have like a route planner that does that? You said you made your own equation?
Yeah, so we do utilize Google Maps services, but in terms of doing the routing, we do some optimization on that, and it's actually just based on the geo coordinates of each order, which we get when the order is submitted.
Right.
It'll do basically a query to Google and kind of get their location, and then from there we can kind of plot the different routes.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's all automated, so that way we don't have to do any kind of sitting on our phones and planning out the routes when we're going to make delivery. We can just kind of have a list of this is first, this is second, this is third, this is fourth.
Oh, wow.
And then so we can just plug them in straight to our GPS systems and then go off.
That's so streamlined. Gosh, I love that. You brought your day job, you brought your expertise into your side business. It kind of flows perfectly. So after the first year, who did you find? I'm sure you did some data collecting and then selling it to make money. I'm kidding. But you did some collecting of data to see, I'm sure, who purchased the pumpkins most. You know, did you do demographics like race or anything, or you know, you separated businesses versus individuals? Like let's start there. Was it mostly businesses that were buying the pumpkins from you? You know, like churches or schools back when we all know what's going to happen with schools. So back when schools were actually in session last year, and were there like after school programs where they were buying 20 for the school kids to carve them after school, or was it mostly, you know, families or individuals?
For the most part, a lot of our retail was individuals or families. We did have a significant portion though of businesses, which were typically small business owners, and they typically bought some to kind of increase the value of their store and made people want to come in. So I thought that was really interesting. We also did end up selling to some schools, some churches. We did do one to the Ronald McDonald House as well, and we actually even sold some pumpkins to the Bellevue Berry Farm when they ran out.
I forgot. Yeah, I remember you saying that. That's hilarious. Not to Vala's though?
No.
They don't run out. Vala just always makes them.
I'm not sure.
Huh.
We don't talk about them.
Yeah, they're the enemy. What percent would you say was the businesses, the business side, or including like schools and churches and stuff?
When we did it, I think it was around, well, including the churches and schools and the small businesses, it was probably around like 20% of our customer base.
Oh, that's it.
So it is a decent amount, but.
So 20% of customer base or 20% of sales?
Customer base.
Okay, what percent of sales do you think? But because obviously they're ordering large quantities, did you collect any data on that?
I would have to go back and calculate that, but that is something I can find out.
Sure. I'd just be curious to see, because there's so much. I've helped my cousin start a coffee company, a canned coffee company, I think you know, and there's so much data behind everything that they were looking at. I was on the grounds, you know, stocking the shelves, throwing the Starbucks bottles off the shelves, or pulling down their sales tags. But like selling a physical product is so much different than what I do now. You know, with health insurance, it's just a wild. I haven't done that in like 5 or 6 years, so I kind of forget all the behind the scenes, you know, data collecting and marketing strategies that you have to do when you're selling something physical, like a pumpkin. So when does the you said all of them are already planted. So you said the summer is the growing cycle.
Yep.
So what's the first day you put the seeds in the ground to the turnaround of when you can pick them up and start delivering them?
Yeah, so we plant in the end of May, and pumpkins, at least the kinds we're growing, take anywhere between 90 to like 110 days to grow. So a little over around 3 months.
Yeah.
And yeah, we will usually pick them at the end of August or early September, and then straight from there, we'll actually start getting ready to sell, because a lot of people start buying in early September actually.
Do they really? Okay, I didn't realize that. Because how long do they last after you, like say you deliver it to someone's house, how long would it last, you know, would that last until Halloween, or are they going to reorder them?
Yeah, so pumpkins are actually alive when you end up picking them, so long as they have a little bit of the stem that's not damaged, and also there's no nicks in it. Because sometimes they'll, just like, you know, humans or other animals or plants, they can get little bacterial infections and stuff like that, and that's when they begin to rot. But they actually have probably about a 6-week lifespan after being cut off from the vine.
And early September then, yeah, that's a little too soon. It's probably like halfway into September, right?
Yeah, I would probably say the last 2 weeks of September and first 2 weeks of October. Yeah, people I feel like think you get a lot of pumpkins kind of bought at the end of October when most people have their pumpkins by then. You do have occasional people that will want to do something fun with them though.
And I forgot, we should definitely mention this. You're not just selling the big pumpkins like they're on your shirt that people carve. You also have gourds, right? Is that I don't know.
Yeah, they're ugly little wart looking like things. Those are really fun and just really festive and kind of give a more fall vibe versus just kind of a Halloween vibe.
Right. Yeah, those are the ones you see people put on like their shelves or, you know, like for decorations around the house.
And then we also sell some pie pumpkins, which are just little small pumpkins that, like the name, you actually turn them into pies.
Yeah.
You can actually eat them. I would say do not eat the jack-o'-lanterns. Those ones are actually not edible.
They're not edible?
Not the bigger pumpkins.
At all? Like, will they harm you? Or they just don't taste as good, you mean? But they don't bake well?
It's a combination of all of those, kind of.
What? I didn't know that. The one time I tried to make real pumpkin pie, we used a jack-o'-lantern.
How did it taste?
Awful. It didn't even turn out. I think we were making it for a Halloween party, and we ended up just tossing the thing, and we bought a pumpkin pie to deliver to bring to the party.
But yeah, you use the smaller pie pumpkins to actually make the pies.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that.
We also sell some white pumpkins, which are called cotton candies. Those are pretty cool. They're also kind of a little smaller as well.
They're called cotton candies?
And they've just got a white complexion, and they're really cute and kind of festive too, just kind of decorations. And then we also sell Cinderella pumpkins, which are like in the movie. They're these really wide, pink, kind of bulbous pumpkins, and sometimes they get warts on them, and they look just really cool. And again, kind of just that festive decoration kind, outside of the typical Halloween stuff.
Where'd you learn all this? Like, surely you didn't have an expertise in all things pumpkins before you jumped in to help Ryan that first year?
Yeah, so my partner Ryan did teach me a lot about this stuff, and then from there we kind of did our own research, went through some different catalogs and stuff like that, and just kind of did some research into...
the digital age, man. You gotta turn off your phone.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Should I do that real quick?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Don't look.
That's a lesson I actually learned the hard way while you're doing that. We'll just keep this rolling. Like 5 interviews ago or something, was the first time when I started doing multiple camera angles where I use my iPad as well as my phone. And before before I was just using my phone. But the very first time I used both my iPad and my phone, you actually can't even tell anymore in that interview because I think must have been the phone. I didn't turn on the do not disturb, and so I got a phone call like 5 minutes into the interview, and it stops recording. It stops everything on your phone when you get a phone call. And so luckily at that time I had brought the iPad for the first time for that interview. Otherwise we would have talked for like 30 minutes and I would have had no content. I would have felt so stupid and felt really bad that I wasted their time. I forget who that interview was.
Oh my. Yeah. Good thing you didn't. That would be awful.
So now every time, I think I did it this time, but that's one of the setup things that I do to make sure that I don't screw it up again. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, you're just learning all these things about pumpkins. So that actually reminded me of another question. Do all the different types of pumpkins then take that about 90-day cycle, or do the smaller ones take less time?
So no, the smaller ones, they kind of just grow on their own. They'll be a little bit smaller, but they take around the same time. It's really just dependent on the different, I guess, strain you could call it of the pumpkin. Some are just naturally longer. Some of the, like, for example, darker, like brown or kind of purple pumpkins, they kind of see that are exotic. They just kind of have different growing conditions, and those ones usually take a little bit longer, about like 120, 130 days, so a couple extra weeks.
How long do the gourds take? Like the smaller ones? Or the Cinderella?
I would say kind of 90 days as well. I think the gourds actually grow a little bit quicker. I'd have to ask my partner on that one, but I don't typically tend to those very often.
Your situation is kind of unique in that you started this with someone else. A lot of people that are starting their business go out completely on their own, like myself, and have no one else to help collaborate with. It sounds like Ryan is obviously more of the hands-on, the agricultural background brains, and you're more of the logistics, IT, kind of more business side. Would that be accurate? Would you say?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, and so what's that like, kind of playing off of your other person's strengths and like delegating? Because to me, it would be a nightmare if I ever brought someone else on. I just need to have control, and so to say like, okay, you're going to be in charge of following up with all my clients, sending them birthday cards or whatever it is. Like in the back of my mind, I'd always be like, I should probably check to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to. But is there any of that, or were you guys friends before this? Like, touch on that kind of dynamic.
Yeah, so we've been friends since high school,
Okay.
so we've known each other for a while. I definitely feel like our personalities mesh really well.
Sure.
We're both very like open-minded people and very, I guess, collaborative, you could say. So, you know, I never like to have this notion that I know everything. I always think there's something that I could think or know that could be wrong.
Right.
And so I definitely like to ping it off other people, and particularly my business partner, and then we can kind of find, oh, maybe that won't work, or there's just things you kind of forget about or have biases towards that you can kind of get a more objective goal or plan established. So
Right. That makes sense.
but yeah, we definitely mesh well together.
Good. Yeah, I've seen your guys' dynamic. You guys are funny when you're working together. The Bellevue Berry Farm, I want to go back to that because you mentioned them. I think it's hilarious that you actually gave them pumpkins, or sold them pumpkins. Or did you?
Yeah,
They bought them from you, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. You're like, absolutely. I better have. That's so funny you saved them. What would you ever turn into? I don't remember if I've ever like actually been to the Bellevue Berry Farm. I know they have a hay rack ride at the very least. Is it like Vallows where they have like slides, where they have like food and vendors and stuff? Like,
yeah, they've got haunted houses, vendors there. You can go pick. I mean, it's just kind of an all-around pumpkin patch plus some fun.
Okay.
So it's not just a typical, you know, pumpkin patch where that's all that's there. It's definitely entertainment suited, and they do definitely make a lot of money.
Well, we won't turn it into an ad for them if they make that make money already. But I was curious if you guys ever plan to do that, to add some attractions, to add something else besides just you can come to our field and pick a pumpkin.
Yeah, definitely. This is something, a long-term goal. Obviously, we'll need some kind of more income coming in, and as we grow as a company, we do want to do like tractor rides or kind of like hay bale stuff.
Right.
We'd like to have our own kind of plot of land where we could have little fire pits and people could come, and the adults could come and drink beer and have some food and just have fun with the whole family.
Yeah.
It's kind of our end goal with this, but
probably a long ways away. That sounds like even more work.
yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Sure. What? I mean, you guys are just doing the delivery service now. What would be the next thing to add? Like, if you wanted to start this process, what would be the first thing that would be the easiest and make the most sense, but also probably provide a return on your investment?
I mean, probably getting the land bought just so we can actually have an area where we can just have a field of pumpkins where people can come enjoy, and we could set up stands or have little vendors come out. But until we get a plot of land, that's not...
That makes sense. Yeah, you have to have the land before you can build anything or put anything else there.
But I could see that something as just our business grows and we get more deliveries, and obviously we'll always still have that kind of business model of the deliveries,
right?
Just for bringing the farm pumpkins to your home. Sometimes traveling with kids is a hassle. So
I would imagine. I don't have any. I know you don't have any. I think none that you've told me of, at least. What I was gonna? Oh shoot! What was I just gonna ask? Oh yeah, with the delivery thing. So I want to clarify, you said it's kind of the Uber of pumpkin deliveries, but it's only you and Ryan still delivering the pumpkins, is that right? Okay. So are you guys going to hire anyone else for this year, or were you two alone able to handle all the deliveries in a timely manner?
We were able to handle deliveries in a timely manner. We're definitely stepping up our marketing and advertising game this year. And if that happens, then yeah, we'll definitely hire some more drivers. I actually built the website and the system so we can actually just create a new user. We assign them the role of a driver, and then they can have their own dispatches and stuff. So that's where that, I guess, Uber component comes into it.
That's insane. You guys have an army of delivery drivers driving around pumpkins, delivering to people in the fall. That's crazy. Where's the farthest place that you'll go then? Because obviously mostly Omaha, and you said there's another business like yours in Lincoln. But what's your kind of area?
I think, if I remember right, we capped it to, I think, 30 miles, which is still a bit of a stretch. And that was kind of...
Circle, I would imagine, or radius, right? 30-mile radius around Omaha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was about southwest, maybe kind of near, not necessarily near South or Louisville, Not that far, but kind of in that general direction on the outskirts of Omaha.
Sure.
Beautiful houses.
Yeah, there's some lake houses over there. One thing that I haven't been asking enough recently is about Omaha in my interviews. So have you always lived here?
Yes.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Love it. Me too. 402. Omaha needs like a hand sign or something, like a gang sign. But why do you guys continue to do your business in Omaha? And what's your favorite part about doing business in Omaha?
Oh man.
I know I'm throwing the hard questions at you. For those while you're thinking, for those that don't know who do watch these, I don't give my interviewees, is that right? I don't give the interviewees any sort of like template or question list that we're gonna ask or talk about. I just kind of go into it and we just freehand it. So that's why sometimes people don't know the answer right away when I ask them. So yeah, did you think of anything?
Yeah, so I mean, we continue to do business. This is our hometown. Obviously, we kind of have this natural love for it. It's ingrained in kind of who we are. I think one thing in particular that is cool about Omaha is just how communicative we are and reaching out and how friendly we are. You don't necessarily get that if you're on the West Coast or excuse me,
Right.
The East Coast or stuff like that, or even up north.
Omaha's a small town. It's what do I always say? It's a small town trying to be a big city. And yeah, it still has that friendliness and everyone still really knows each other.
Oh, definitely. I run into people I know all the time. I think that's really great too for, even starting your business, of just having those personal referrals of, I know this person personally and they're nice, or they did this for me.
True.
Versus just some kind of stranger.
Yeah. What do you think about the direction Omaha's headed in? Like in terms of, I just think of growth. Like I see all the time on Facebook or on anything.
Fix the roads.
Oh my gosh. Well, we've passed the bond, so hopefully that money will go towards fixing the roads. But in terms of like growth, do you like the size of Omaha? Do you want it to be bigger? Do you think it should become a little too big and too mainstream or too much like the coasts? What are your thoughts?
I think it's always good to see communities grow and build new things as life evolves. I would like our cities to evolve as well. Me personally, I'm more of a kind of I guess not necessarily a country boy, but I kind of like that more quiet life a little bit better.
Sure.
But I definitely like coming into the city of Omaha and having the convenience of things and all the fun activities you can do. I mean, there's so much fun you can have in Omaha. But
I can't stand when someone says there's nothing to do here. It's like, no, you're just boring. There's so much.
Oh yeah, but
what's some of the things that you do? I see your bike outside there on the patio.
Yeah, so I like to do a lot of fitness stuff. I like hanging with friends. I guess drinking's a big thing here.
Sure.
We've got fun parks and stuff you can go to, different amazing restaurants I love going to. Rock climbing.
I forgot. Yeah, you do rock climbing like once a week, or you did at least before the world shut down.
Yeah, sad.
Do they let you at all anymore, or no?
I've been busy with stuff, so I actually haven't been there in a while. But,
sure. Yeah, you probably won't be able to anyway for the next 2 months until pumpkin season's over.
Yes, it's very busy.
Do you, at the end of the season, what do you do with all the pumpkins you have left over, or do you sell? You didn't sell out last year, did you?
We sold out of all of our big pumpkins, but we did have some pie pumpkins. But I mean, we like to have fun with them. We've got this little, I guess, gorge that we'll take and we'll throw them off or slingshot them off. Sometimes we, shoot some pumpkins. Mm-hmm. Just have fun with them.
You should charge for that. That could be another simple service to implicate. Like, hey, come out to here, bring your
I'm not sure about
bring your firearm and shoot some pumpkins. You probably need some good business insurance for that.
I know too. There's a couple farm owners who feed their pigs with kind of just old rotten pumpkins and stuff too. So I think we're going to do some of that.
Does that make them sick?
No, pigs eat whatever and whatever.
No.
Like, yeah,
Gotcha.
They're dirty creatures.
Yeah. For those that can't see, Jake's dog is right here. I don't know if she'll make it in. I hope you do, Brandy. So yeah, we touched on Omaha. What would be something you would change about Omaha, if you could? If you were mayor and you had unlimited money, what would you change? Whether that, I mean, it could be the weather, you could be public transportation.
I definitely think we need some more public transportation. Also that too, I'm not sure how it would be done, but I'd like to kind of desegregate some of the different areas of Omaha. I definitely think it's cool having more cultural areas, but some things are a little bit harder to access to that are like hidden gems that I guess I wish more people knew about, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Omaha is obviously, everyone does. Everyone knows that Omaha is very segregated. And one thing that I hope will help with that a little bit, at least for the starting part of it, is Orbit, the Omaha Rapid Bus Transit. You know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
I assume? Okay, yeah. I imagine in the future Omaha having like a bunch of different orbit lines, kind of like a Chicago, where it's like, here's the orange line that runs up and down Dodge, the green line runs up and down 72nd or whatever. So I think that would be the only kind of direction that Omaha would take for public transit, because we're beyond the point, I would imagine, for implementing like a subway system or something like that. So I think we're kind of stuck with buses when it comes to public transportation, unfortunately.
They're all right.
I've never rode the bus here. Have you?
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's very interesting.
In a good way?
Yeah, you definitely meet some interesting characters, some cool characters.
Sure. I rode the mega bus from Omaha to Chicago one time.
Is that the dollar one?
It was very cheap. It was dirt cheap, but for good reason. That thing stops like every 2 hours or something ridiculous, because it stopped in Des Moines, Iowa City, so those are both 2 hours and 2 hours, and then I forget where it was next, but then I think Chicago was next. I mean, here to Chicago is just a 7.5 hour drive, so if you're stopping at least 3 times, yeah, you get no sleep, because we took it overnight. It was back my senior year of high school, and my mom and I were going to Chicago to tour Loyola, I think just Loyola, Chicago, the university, and we were like, well, we're going to do it for cheap and efficient, and we took the overnight bus, and our arrival time was supposed to be like an hour and a half before the tour started for the university, but the bus was like an hour late getting to Omaha, so then we had like no extra time, and we had no time to sleep, so it was a bad day next day. And then we were just there for one day, then we took the bus back that night, so it was like 2 nights of no sleeping. It was brutal. I don't recommend it.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, try it if you want. Switching gears a little bit from more lighthearted subjects, I'm curious what motivates you. You kind of touched on, the driving forces behind starting a business and your advice to new entrepreneurs, but what's something that motivates you now that you've already kind of been up and coming with your business?
This perhaps maybe isn't a healthy thing, but definitely fear of stagnation. So one thing that absolutely terrifies me is not having a goal and not having any trajectory in life. And for me, that's always a motivational factor of I have to kind of be doing something. I'm not sure why that is, but yeah, that would probably be my biggest motivational factor for anything in life, really.
I wonder if that's something biological more within males than women, because guys are always, I feel like guys are much, maybe not, because at the same time I know a lot of guys that are very complacent and very lazy and not striving for goals.
I don't think it has anything to do with gender. However, I do think society kind of creates this tendency of like inaction and just being comfortable, because we have a lot of very nice things in life where we're not really being forced to strive for things where we used to in the past. It's not necessarily an excuse to not do something, but I definitely think society makes it easy to be happy with where you're at, and I also think that's one of the big reasons of people's unhappiness, is just being complacent, because if there's nowhere to go, what are you doing?
I think we're biologically meant to suffer.
Definitely.
Like I mean, if you think about our ancestors and just how we came up as humans, they were, sometimes they didn't eat for 2 or 3 days. We can open our fridge and, grab a leftover pizza or whatever. Like, we don't really struggle. I agree. Society makes it so easy to not struggle. We have our smartphones. We have our, our nice brand new big TV for $300. Shout out to you. And, you pay $8 a month or however much, streaming services nowadays, and you get access to thousands of shows at your disposal, and it's very easy to come home, sit on the couch, and just be like, I'm gonna watch this. Seems good. Everyone's talking about it. But yeah, complacency kills. That's another little phrase that I've heard someone say sometime, somewhere. Someone probably much smarter and wealthier and more successful than me said that. But yeah, I think it's important to always be striving for something as well.
Speaking of striving, what kind of motivated you to start Project 402?
My original goal was word for word. I was actually coming back from that trip, I think. Or no, it was coming back from the time I lived in Chicago, helping my cousins with Madrina's coffee. And my goal when I came back was I want to make Omaha the next Chicago. That was the worst goal I've ever come up with. But after reflecting on that, my meaning behind that was I realized, when you travel and when you live in different cities, you really try to go to the mom and pops, the kind of the unique landmarks, the unique attractions to that city. And coming back to town, also, a couple of my friends, we were just talking kind of around this time, and they had said, they didn't know what Ted and Wally's ice cream was, or they never had La Casa Pizza, or
wow.
They just only shop at like the chain, like the TJ Maxx's and the chain stores. And so that kind of led me to say, well, I don't think it's that Omaha is boring, and I don't think it's that Chicago is just the coolest city in the world. I think it's that it's just a lack of awareness of things to do or of what's out there in your city, because it is so easy to just be complacent and come home and do nothing really. And so I was like, well, my little part of helping Omaha get known can be very slowly. I just start interviewing local businesses and sharing their story, because if you know that, I can't say Crane Coffee anymore because Crane Coffee's gone, but Crane Coffee started out as like just a little bar cart delivering espressos and coffee to nurses, I think inside Children's Hospital or something. Like, if you hear that story, you're more invested in that company. And now you're more likely to go to that local business than go to the Starbucks, down the road, because you care, you know their why. And so when I started Project 402, I just wanted to really help share the story of local businesses and essentially kind of get Omaha on the map and get people to realize that Omaha's not boring, because there's just as much to do here really as there is in a bigger city, as there is in Chicago. So that was my goal. Thanks for turning it around. Usually people don't ask me the questions. I like it.
Of course.
Do you have any more?
How many businesses have you interviewed now?
I think you're 21. I think Ponca Hills Pumpkin is number 21, if I remember right. I started it, like 3 years ago. And yeah, it's just been a slow process, because I don't make any money from these unless someone wants to sponsor, if they hear this. I'd love to have like a mug, like from Scooters or something. But yeah, I'd like to be able to maybe not even like have any income from it for myself, but monetize it so I can like pay for ads, like so it's not just all organic reach.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to be able to pay to have this interview that we're doing be shared more, so that more people can learn about another business. But I also thought about down the road maybe having like a Project 402, like a club or something that has like a gift card or a little card that gets you discounts to all the businesses I've interviewed on this or something like that.
Ooh, that'd actually be a really good idea.
I think so. I would have no idea how to implement it. It wouldn't be too hard probably. But then also I thought of kind of creating a whole brand around Project 402, because I'm eventually going to be getting into real estate investing and trying to redo some parts of town or just some neighborhoods. And I would like to have a sign that says like, this is Project 402, the brand, as I'm calling it, is quickly developing into more of a less of just an interview series or podcast and more of a let's put Omaha on the map type brand. Where, hey, we're this cool place. We have only about 1 million people, but it's still big enough where we have big name concerts. We have huge events like Berkshire, the College World Series that attracts thousands of people every year. So it's Project 402 is a project to help bring us a bigger spotlight onto Omaha.
That's awesome. Yeah, we really need to make Omaha this more grand than it already is. I love your ambition.
See, some people disagree. Some people think that Omaha is already big enough. So it's all individual. It changes. Cool. Well, this was fun, man. Thank you for being on here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love your business, and I love everything that you guys are doing. I think it's great. It's like, to me, it's kind of funny that it took this long for your business to exist. And it's so even more random that I know the person who's doing it, because it just kind of makes sense. And especially now with the coronavirus, it's literally perfect. This year, I expect you guys to do way better even than last year. And I know you guys did well last year. But before we head out, let everyone know where they can find you. The website, Instagrams, etc.
Yeah, so on Instagram, if you just search Ponca Hills Pumpkins, I think we're like Real Ponca Hills or something like that. Facebook, same thing. And then as far as our website goes, you can order directly from the website, or feel free to contact us, call us, anything like that. Email us, poncahillspumpkins.com. If you don't want to type all that out or forget, omahapumpkins.com. Pumpkins.shop, pumpkinsomaha.com.
They bought up all the domains.
So, yeah, but looking forward to having some business with you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think this will definitely get the word out, and I'm looking forward to hopefully sharing this on 500 Millennials and on a bunch of pages and getting you guys to sell out. We're going to really try to get you to have no more pumpkins this year.
Good problem to have.
Cool. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, likewise.
Pleasure. Thank you.